The night my parents gave away my college fund, nobody raised their voice. That was what stayed with me, not the decision itself, the calmness. My father cut another piece of roast chicken while my mother reached for her glass as if she were asking someone to pass the salt. "We've been talking," Mom said. My younger sister smiled without looking at me. Dad cleared his throat. "Your sister's pregnant." I smiled. "Congratulations," she whispered. "Thanks." Then Mom folded her hands. "We've decided her situation is more urgent." I already knew where the conversation was heading. The money we saved for your college is going to help them instead. Nobody looked embarrassed. Dad added the sentence that somehow hurt more than losing the money. "You can work, it builds character." The room became strangely quiet. They were waiting for disappointment, for pleading, for anger. Instead, I nodded. "Okay," Mom blinked. "That's all?" I stood, walked around the table, and hugged her. "I hope everything goes well." She hugged me back, confused more than comforted. I congratulated my sister once more, carried my plate to the sink, and went upstairs. Only after I closed my bedroom door did I finally let myself breathe. My phone vibrated. Bank alert, scheduled transfer completed. I stared at the screen for several seconds, months earlier. After realizing my parents still viewed every achievement as temporary and every sacrifice as available for redistribution, I'd started preparing for independence. I had accepted a position with a consulting firm in another state, signed a lease, opened accounts that belonged only to me, transferred every paycheck. Finished removing myself from every shared financial arrangement I had once maintained simply because it made life easier for everyone. The last scheduled transfer had completed exactly 10 minutes after dinner began. Perfect timing by coincidence, or maybe by relief. Another notification appeared, "Authorized user removed successfully." I slipped the phone into my pocket, down some stairs, a chair scraped violently across the floor. Then my father's voice. "Liam," another shout. "Liam!" I walked downstairs slowly. Everyone was standing now. Dad held his phone. "What did you do? I'd need more information." "Don't play games." Mom looked pale. "Our online banking says you're no longer on the family emergency account." I removed myself. "You can't just—" "I can," Dad frowned. "But you managed that account." "I did." "You handled the payments." "I did." Mom stepped closer. "What about the mortgage reminders? Insurance renewals, your grandmother's care invoices? I emailed instructions last week. You never said anything. You never asked." My sister looked from one face to another. "I don't understand." Dad finally said it. "We depended on him." The sentence hung in the room, not because it surprised me, because it surprised them. For years I'd paid bills they forgot, renewed policies before deadlines, scheduled repairs, tracked medical reimbursements, balanced accounts. Nobody noticed because everything simply worked. Until it didn't belong to me anymore. Dad's phone rang. He answered immediately. It was the bank. He put the call on speaker. The representative spoke with practiced calm. "Mr. Carter, we've reviewed the request. Since your son was an authorized user rather than the account owner, he was fully entitled to remove his own access. The change has already been processed." Dad interrupted. "Can it be reversed?" "I'm afraid only if both parties agree and new authorization forms are completed." Silence. "Thank you," Dad muttered before ending the call. No argument, no loophole, just procedure. Mom looked at me differently now. Not warmly, not coldly, as though she had suddenly realized she knew much less about my life than she'd assumed. "Why now?" she asked quietly. I considered pretending it had nothing to do with dinner. But that wouldn't have been true. "I've accepted a job." "Where?" "Chicago." "When were you going to tell us?" I thought tonight seemed like a bad time. Nobody answered. My sister lowered her eyes. "I didn't know they were taking your college money." "I know. I'm sorry." "I believe you." That was enough. I went back upstairs and packed the last box waiting beside my closet. It contained textbooks from community college. where I'd studied at night while working full time because the promised fund had gradually become a family resource long before it officially disappeared. The moving truck would arrive in the morning. I wasn't leaving because of one dinner. I was leaving because the dinner confirmed there was nothing left to wait for. Before going to bed, I looked out the window. The kitchen light was still on. My parents sat at the table where the conversation had begun. Neither of them was eating anymore. For the first time in years, they weren't discussing what I could do for the family. They were trying to figure out how much of their life had quietly depended on someone they believed still needed them. I never heard another scream that night. Only the silence that comes after people discover a decision had already been made long before they noticed it.